It's 2023, bro. I am extremely excited for this year. I want to say big ups to all of our fans as we kick off 2023, season 11, man. Mo, big shout out to you, man. Tip my hat off to you, Adam, everybody that's been involved with the project since day one. This is an amazing experience, y'all. We're excited. This year, we're going really hard. Uh, on mindset, right, and hoping that you're getting these nuggets of wisdom that we talk about, right? Remember, everybody's leaving these nuggets of wisdom on the trail of life, and ultimately, like we always say, it's up to you to pick them up. But this year, we're really going to hone in on that. And hope that everybody can grow and become a better version of themselves. Mo, we got an exciting show. I'm very excited about this. We closed the door on 2022. Hopefully everybody has a safe and happy holiday season. And obviously, want to wish you the best, and just want to say thank you for rocking with us for so long. We're entering into our fifth year of production, and it's been a lot of love, and so we could not have done all of this without you guys. Thank you so much for your support. So even though the quote unquote season of gratitude is quote over, we still want to be show and express our gratefulness and our gratitude for each and every one of you guys.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you to all the visionaries, sponsors, just everyone who's been involved with us on this journey that we're on. Yeah, happy New Year to you as well, partner. Happy 2023 to everybody. Just whatever space that you're in. Thank you again for listening and following and sharing and all the above to support the show. And Cuff's right, we're going to lean in really heavy on mindset for 2023. And we figured since we were going to lean in really heavy on mindset, we might as well just get an expert when it comes to mindset.
Yes, sir. We
Um,
closed out the year with the Strong Mindset podcast. Kind of blew some
yeah,
things away at the end of the year. So I agree, man. What we got
yeah,
going today?
yeah. Well, Cuff, today's guest is a native of Columbus, Ohio. He is an author, he's a speaker, he's a performance coach, he's a lot of different things. Please welcome Dr. Anthony Rhodman to the Vision Lab podcast.
Hey,
I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
good
No problem.
morning.
How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing absolutely amazing. I appreciate y'all bringing me on the podcast. I'm excited to talk to you guys about mindset and different things that y'all have going on. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Well, you're a big deal. This is season 11, and I could not have thought or think of a better way to enter into the new year with a better guest. So thank you so much for jumping into the lab with us.
Appreciate it.
So we got to give the visionaries a little backstory, right, Cuff? So we always we have access to our email box and DMs and all that. And one day, I catch a DM and an email. I was like, okay, let me go through here and read who this is. And it's like, hey, I'm the publicist for Dr. Anthony Rhodman, and I was like, man, I recognize the name, like Trayvon. I was like, oh, it's Trayvon Jackson, the guy who used to play for the Wisconsin Badgers. Like, oh, cool. All right. So sure enough, gave him a phone, like we do everybody. Hey, here's our phone number. Give us a call. Dr. Rhodman, you got a good one on your team in Trayvon. Super
Appreciate that.
responsive, super on point, just really just with the program, if you will. So make sure you keep him on staff. And I'm sure that we will work together on some things as we kind of move forward and get to know each other.
Exactly.
Um,
He's wonderful.
that said, before we started, hitting the record button, we mentioned the word mindset, and you just kind of opened up, right? This being a growth mindset, you started talking about like the difference in between mindset and what people I guess the misconception is or whatnot. Can you kind of touch on what you were giving us before we actually hit the record button?
Yeah, so I really want people to understand a lot of people are talking about mindset, right? It's a trendy word, it's a trendy thing, mental health and wellness, and all these different things that people are dealing with. But the issue people are having is no one's really dealing with what is a mind, right? So a lot of people are not able to use the information they're having because they don't even know what it is that they're using, right? There's a misconception that the brain is the mind, and that's not true, right? The brain responds to a mind, but is not the mind itself. So for us to truly understand mindset, we have to understand where is it coming from? What are we working with to be able to use it to our advantage? So that's
That's
what I was
deep.
talking about.
Yeah, that's hella deep, man. And when you break it down like that, right? People are familiar with mindset and manifestation and
Hmm.
having a fixed mindset or um, growth mindset or psychology and all these type of
Yeah.
adjectives and words. And I don't think I've ever even thought about, well, where does all that begin, right?
Yeah.
So I'm interested. You've opened the door, right? Why do you say, and I'm paraphrasing, but
Mhm.
it's another level to understanding what the mind is, right? Like,
Yeah.
can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So the reason why people like to say the brain is the mind is because we have been caught up in scientific observation, right? So you can scientifically observe the brain. So they go by the responses of the brain to be able to research because the mind cannot be scientifically observed. It's an invisible trait. It's a system inside of you that's invisible. They can't track through tangible observation to be able to really dive into it. They can only deal with the response of it, right? The manifestation of it is all they can actually observe. So that's why it's an invisible trait inside of us. That's a system. We all have a personal invisible system inside of us that connects us to the universal systems of life. So it can't be tracked by human observation. It has to be dissected through higher observation that goes within, not without.
So would it be fair to say that the mind is the soul?
Well, not necessarily, right? Because the soul is a part of your true actual form, right? It's a part of, so you have like a spirit, you have a soul, right? Now, the minds as a whole, what will make up the whole soul? All the minds together. So that's another misconception is we have one mind.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you said minds as in plural, and I've never heard of that, right?
Yes.
Um, uh, Dive in.
So you have heard it before, but we have not really been taught to dive into it. So I'll give you a question of a few of the minds you heard of. Have you ever heard of the conscious mind?
Yes,
Have you ever heard of the subconscious mind?
absolutely.
Have you heard of the unconscious mind?
Yes.
So we most people only heard of three different minds, but you still have been taught there's more than one mind. But no one really tells you what it is.
Well, I think we silo, or we all combine those instead of silo them out.
Exactly. And that's the issue a lot of us are having is because no one really telling us what it is. Like we're going off of observation or tangible or carnal experience. Because of that, people don't know how to use their minds correctly. So then we create ideologies and philosophies of you have to fail, fail, fail to succeed, right? That comes with scientific observation. See, science is based off of that we've been taught failing to succeed. I fail, figure it out, till I get a fact. Never gives you the truth, it gives you a fact. The reason why we know it's fact because what they tell you all the time, science is always changing.
Okay.
That means facts change. That means it could be right now, but that means it might not be right in the future. So I give you an example of scientific observation. If I observe right now and told you what time it is, that would be fact. But as soon as the time changed, that fact no longer is right.
Okay.
See, the difference is the minds are based off, your true minds are based off of truth that never change. Truth is consistent, it never changes. So it doesn't have to be based off of fact. So the universe that people always talk about they're tapping into is not changing. And your minds were given to you to connect to that system. It's a universal system inside of you that connects to the overall system we all have to function inside. So if it's something that never changes, we know it doesn't change, because if it changed, you couldn't even base your faith on laws that helps you follow the mindset you have. So the
That's
laws
funny.
that people are basing their success off of, the reason why they're so confident in it, because the universe that created the laws is not changing those laws. So it's a truth. It's not scientific observation that's going to be a fact. It's not going to change. You know, off top, the reason why people invest is because there's a universal law of sowing and reaping, giving and receiving, cause and effect, however people want to call the law. You know the law of, if I put something in, something has to come out. If there wasn't a law, no one would invest.
No, it's interesting that you say that, because that was actually where I was going to go next. Is if the truth is greater than fact, which is what you're saying,
Mhm.
then where does that place laws? So it's very astute that you jumped in right there. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
So would you agree, or would you say that there are 12 universal laws?
No, there's way more than 12. But there are foundational laws that people, when they talk about 12 laws, those are foundational laws that people can stand on, right? But the issue people have is, what universe are you talking about? So there's multiple universes. So depending on what universe you're functioning in, depends on the laws that you can stand on. So that's why someone could be tapping into universal laws of a higher universe, and they're creating manifestations at a higher level than someone else. They're functioning on a different time than someone else. And people are like, what are they doing? What are they tapping into? Something higher.
So it's the beginning of 2023, right? Or
Yeah.
January, right? Um, we wanted to tap into the mindset real hot and heavy, and I'm gonna be honest with you, you're crushing it right now. Like my mind is just spinning. For someone that is new to all of this,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a universal law of oneness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying one is greater than the other in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the 12 universal laws,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to tap into the best version of themselves, right?
Yes.
Where where do they start? It's the beginning of the year. Let's I
Mm-hmm.
mean, where are we starting?
So this is where I just literally created a book on this, the psychology of performance and behaviors, right? So you have to start with your highest manifestation mind. So you have divine minds and manifestation minds, right? The divine minds allow you to tap into the divine, which is the manifestation laws, is what allow people to actually create things in manifested realities, right? So you have to start with your highest manifestation mind, which is hasn't really been taught on a public scene, right? And we refer to as the emulation mind. So it's the mind that everyone uses when they first come into existence of this life, this realm, right? So I give you an example. Do you guys have children?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
So when your child first, you seen your child, what were they doing? Did you observe them? What were they doing?
Reaching when
Crying,
she came,
looking
crying
up.
and reaching.
Crying and reaching for food and looking around like, where am I?
Yep.
Where, what is going on around here? And the first few months, what did they do? They were super attentive and looking around. Now, people always tell us, right, the child been doing that since they were young. Now, what people don't understand is they're emulating you. They're like, where'd you get that from? Sometimes we don't even know we do stuff until we see our child do it. Because that mind is the strongest mind at the time, their emulation mind. They're imitating and emulating. And then they're seeing what works and they're building a character. We call it character development. They're building a character, or you can use another term, an avatar, of this avatar that can actually function in this manifested world. So I see when I cry, mommy responds like this. So let me do that again. All right, if I do this, daddy responds like this. So now I'm creating this character, this avatar on how I'm supposed to actually function in the move of this being. I'm creating a actual outward character from my true self. So when you're dealing with that,
they're mapping their world based off of the reactions they get from their actions.
Exactly. Or they're emulating what they see you guys do, that's creating a certain actual response or a outcome, a result. So when I see you do something, I get a result. I see when daddy acts like this, people laugh. Let me put that down in my character development. Let me be like that. When my daddy or mommy make certain faces, people react or respond like this. So they're building this avatar and character, and you start looking at them and be like, man, they look just like you. They're acting just like you. Well, that's because that's what they built first. They're imitating, they're looking how your tone, how you talk, how you move, and people around them, they're emulating things that they see. Now, this can happen from two different ways. This can happen from the divine or from something in a manifested reality. That's the first place to start.
So how do we get there, right? Because the way you started was emulation mind, right?
Yes.
And we are basically can derive from like being a child, right? Like we can understand that we were a child. But now that, I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm 25 years old, I witnessed things, I've experienced things, so on and so forth. So now I hear this podcast, I hear all this Dr. Rhodman talking science, and this is going above me. But I'm interested, right? Like, how do I tap into that? Where do I need to start?
So let's make it super simple, right? Let's simplify it some. So people first have to ask, is the character or the avatar that I've been using so far, is it what I want to keep, or do I want to create a new one? So just like people, when they go onto their social media, they build their avatar, they develop the characteristics of an avatar, and if they're not feeling it anymore, they create a new one. If you like it, you keep it. If you're liking the results that you have, you keep it. If you don't, you have to build a new one. Now, there's two ways of doing this, right? You can restructure the same avatar, or you can build a new one. I give you a lot of something, so let's go on two different sides. In religious circles, they have a philosophy called be born again, right? You have to be born again. Now, that concept for people doesn't make sense. What it really means is you want to start life over again. So I'm going to create another character. I'm going to literally die to the life I used to have and become something totally, completely new. And every story we have that we love, you ever watch documentaries? They don't start when the person is born. They start where the person was born again. When this person created this character to become what we all know them to be, they were born again. So you can either do that, or you can do what we call dream again. What I do to dream again is I ask people, can you remember who you were before the world told you who you're supposed to be?
Wow.
Say that again. Say it again.
So I ask people all the time is, can you remember who you were before the world told you who you're supposed to be?
Absolutely not.
And most people can't. But that was the original.
We've got
Created.
so many different layers that we have put on ourselves, all this different type of clothing, and I say clothing metaphorically, right?
Yes.
These layers that society and these societal pressures have put on us, and we
Mhm.
wear those cloaks, and we just add another cloak to it because so and so said this, and then we add another cloak because this
Yeah.
experience taught me that, and we add another cloak to it because you know I saw this video, and we add another cloak to it because this is what Instagram says, and we add another cloak to it because this is what I saw on YouTube, and before you know it, you've got 500 different cloaks of of personalities or beings that
Yeah.
aren't even who you are.
Exactly. So this is why when I ask someone to dream again, it's so difficult for people. It's super hard for people to dream again because
Yeah.
people don't even believe they can dream. They start thinking about, well, let me get something for my child, my family, my wife. I said, no, you. I need you to focus on you dreaming again. But a lot of people don't know what a dream is. A
Mm,
dream is a something I want to become. That's all a dream is. You have divine dreams, which is a message of what something divine wants you to become, or I can dream myself and decide what I want to become. So I tell someone to dream again, people stop dreaming because they tell you it's not real. Dreams are very real. The issue behind it is your dreams are functioning in a higher part of you, and you're trying to find out how to bring it to the carnal part of you that's tangible and your senses can touch and hold and taste. So people don't think it's real. It's very real. It's just not in this carnal reality yet. But because they think about it tangibly, they just don't even dream again, which lowers the power they have to become whatever they want to become. So you have a child, they dream easily. They think they can become anything because we all know we can. We're told we're not supposed to be. I give you a quick example. If you tell someone, so you want to dream something, you tell a child, you can become anything you want to be, right? And the child's like, yeah, you're right. And then as soon as the child tells you their dream, the first thing people say is, that's impossible. Well, you just told me there was nothing impossible.
yeah.
Or they put a
Yeah.
limit on it. The sky is the limit. That's a limit. So we stop dreaming, and that part of our minds, the manifestation mind, starts becoming dormant. And then we start emulating things in front of us that has limit. So now we start imitating what's around us that's functioning on a carnal state. And eventually that avatar becomes created and we no longer need it anymore because we don't use it anymore.
And Dr. Rhodman, you have blown my mind.
Coming out of the gate swinging.
Yeah, and Cuff's right. There's so many different cloaks and layers that the longer you live, that you get caught up in.
Mhm.
I want to switch gears because you play a lot of different roles for a lot of different people.
Mhm.
And the research we've done, and correct me if the term is wrong, but when it comes to like you working with athletes and people will be deemed quote unquote celebrities, is you're a mental performance coach, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of, I mean, obviously, mindset is front and center in that. I'm sure there's an element of like visualization and just really rewiring people's thought process is what it really comes down to, in my opinion, right? My uneducated opinion. But can you really open up the doors, if you will, to talk about like exactly what is it, like how you help them, you know, essentially rewire their thought process, and like how do you help them? Because I've done the research and it's like, oh wow, I see why people have you on speed dial. But can you talk to our visionaries in regards to like what role you play in that space?
Well, the role I play is I help people really dissect. First of all, like we talked about, what do you want to become? Like, let's start there because the only mind that most people know of is the conscious mind. And because we have keep these higher minds dormant, people have taught that the conscious mind is the highest mind. That's not true, right? But what the conscious mind does, it helps you create a choice or decision. So what I do is I help people. I'll give you a perfect example of what I do. Do you guys have different businesses that you have? We know you have one. Do you have multiple businesses?
Yes.
Now, what did you do before you create your business? What did y'all do before you create your business?
Research.
Research. What else?
Well, you had to figure out what you may be passionate about, right? What
Yes.
trajectory do you want to take it in? Do I want to do with taxes, or am I going to deal with real estate, or am I going to build widgets? Maybe I like to
Yes.
build widgets. And so you kind of hone in on, hey, this is what I'm drawn to, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm attracted to. Then I want to learn more about it. Then I want to learn, how do I get that off the ground?
Yes.
Then I want to learn, how do I replicate? How do I hire? How do I become a leader? And it just, that path continues.
See, you see all those things that you did. Now you built a whole being to represent you. See, the issue people have with business, and I could call it organizations, because I don't like to teach people business because it's busyness. That's where business comes from, right? So you develop, and this is why most businesses fail, because they don't organize what this being is going to be. It's supposed to be a representation of you. Now, we will put all this effort to establish something. We have to create our mission statement. We create the origin of the company. We create the destination of it. We create the story, the branding, the marketing. We create all these things for the business, right? Why don't we do that for ourselves? Who sat down and took the time to build their life the same way they build their business? And that's what I do for people. I help people build their life strategically laid out the same way someone builds a business. And that's in simplified terms what I do for people.
And I love it. And I love the exercise. I'm curious, why did that become your life's mission, or a life mission for you?
Yes. So because my greatest desire, which is most people's greatest desire, is to know what to do in life. Like, think about it. The hardest part of life is knowing what to do, because we've been given so much misconceptions of what is right, what is wrong, what's reality, what's not. So my biggest desire is I wanted to know what to do. And I want to know what to do that was solid. Like, I could stand on this and I knew it will work every single time. Like, I didn't want something I had to learn 20 years from now because everything changed. No, I need something that I could stand on, a strong foundation that I knew this will work every single time. So I wanted to process myself. So this is not something that I learned in a book. This is not something I learned doing research or studying. This is something that I actually went through in life myself to know it worked. So the confidence I have in this is I established this thing for myself. So I'm so confident if no one uses it or not, it doesn't matter, because I know it works. Some people are wondering if their stuff works based off of other people. No, I know it works. And then I wanted to find out how this worked depending on whoever it is. Like, I didn't want to know how this stuff works based off of my personal situation. I wanted to know how it worked for anybody. And when I understood that, it became a life mission, because I know there's more people out there that's wanting the same thing. People are tired of failing. We've accepted it because we've been told it, but it's hard. Fail, succeed. It's hard to be grinding, hoping for a result that might come, might not. So I know there are people that want it. And when I started telling people what I was doing, people were more fascinated. Can you show me as well? Of course. And the reason why I say people ask me, because one of the best things you learn in life when you understand mindset is you can't help anyone. See, one of our people say their purpose in life is to help people. When you understand our minds, you'll realize that there's no one you can help. You can only help people help themselves. Because how many people that y'all try to really help, and no matter how much you did for them, they could make a decision with their minds to not do it.
Yeah. It's the saying, you can lead a horse to water, right?
And make them drink.
That's
because of our minds, because one of your minds has the power, the freedom to decide, the power of choice and the freedom to decide. So no matter how much I help you, you can decide not to accept it. So the best way you can do is help people help themselves. And that's what I do. I help people help themselves, to tap into the power they have inside them to help themselves, to show them how to pull the things inside of them that's been dormant, to bring it out to help themselves.
Dr. Rhodman, when did you know that you were like on to something? Like this is some next level. This is deeper than like any conversation we've had on the show.
Mhm.
But I'm just curious to know, like, when did you know like you were really on to something? Like, was there a certain point where you became where like the demand for you and your skill set just became to where it's like, okay, wait a minute, like, okay, something's different here. Like, I'm just curious, like, when did that happen?
Well, I knew when I was on to something when it started happening for me. Because I give you an example. I'm not sure y'all's background or upbringing, right? But unfortunately, I went into sports because that was the only option that I had out of the options that was given to me, right? So the options that were given to me were sports, drugs, music. I want to go to music. My dad shut that down. We had people in the family went in music, got into different drugs and different things like that, shut it down. So that's already one option, right? Gone, right? The drug game wasn't an option as well. I actually had a present father in my life. You not going out there. So my only option was sports, right? Now, sports wasn't something that I wanted to do. I accepted it. So it goes back to, can you remember who you were before the world told you supposed to be? I was told I was an athlete. I never wanted to be an athlete. I actually wanted to do something higher beforehand. I give you an example. I gave my dad a plan. My dad paid for my brother to go to school. I seen the struggle we were having. Didn't want to say nothing. We were trying to act like the Huxtables, but we weren't. So my dad was hustling. I still don't know what he did to do it, but I ain't asked no questions. But I brought a plan to my dad, maybe my sophomore, junior year. I said, hey, they got this job that's hiring, one of them call center jobs. I said, let me take this job. It's paying like $15 to $20 an hour. At this time, that was great. I'm not telling my age. That was great.
That's not bad right now for some people.
I'm like, hey man, let me get this job. I said, instead of going to college, let me stay home for 4 years, take this actual money and invest into this business idea I had. The idea I had was a real estate business, right? So my mind already was working like this, right? My dad's like, man, it's a great idea. Shut it down. You going to college. Like a lot of people, you going to college. I'm like, ah. So since he did that, all right, sports route, I got to get a scholarship. Once I got hurt before my year I planned on going out to go pro, I got hurt. And I need to know what to do in life. My plan, the dream, I created this avatar of this athlete to become a professional athlete. My favorite player was Magic. I was like, Magic, the only person that looked like having fun and making money and not subjected to stuff. So I love basketball. I picked basketball because of Magic. Okay, I ain't really rocking with the football. That looked like that hurt. My brother plays that. I'm cool on that. Right? Track hurt too much because I don't like to run like that anyway. I was fast, but it means you want to run for a living. I ain't out here trying to be no slave. I ain't trying to be running for life. So the track was out the door. Baseball, ain't nobody had a chance to teach us. You know what I mean? So
and Tiger wasn't out yet, so you didn't even know
Tiger
about
wasn't
golf.
out yet, so I'm like, and we couldn't afford that anyway. Nobody had no money for golf lessons and stuff. So my dad was like, okay, it's seen Magic having fun, basketball. That's what it is, right? So that's kind of what happened. So when that avatar died, when the dream died, then I had to figure out what's life really about. So when I was able to change my life, because the hardest part for an athlete is, what do I do now? And when I was able to do the things in life that I only thought could happen if I made it to the professional sports, that's when I knew I was on to something. I was able to create the life that I thought I had to go through this system to get. Now I knew, okay, I'm on to something. That's when I realized it.
So I'm really curious, Dr. Rhodman. When I say the word unconscious mindset, okay, what does that mean to you? What kind of chord does that strike to in your mind?
Well, I'm glad you said that. That's the next step after the emulation mind is the
Okay.
unconscious mind. Now, the unconscious mind is very much not really understood because a lot of people think it's a lower mind. It's actually a higher mind. It means you're not under the influence of conscious reality. So I give you an example. You're not subjected to the set laws of consciousness when you're unconscious. Give you an example. When you go to bed at night, you become unconscious. Now, the unconscious mind begins to take over. When you start going into those realms of reality, it's not subjected to regular laws. You be like, man, that was weird. I just jumped from scene to scene. I was flying here, I jumped here, I went into this realm because I'm not stuck on laws, right? We call the unconscious, we help people get into the conscious mind, we call the unconscious experience. Or what people will call peak performance, or in sports, the zone, right? So if you look at your child, sometimes your child just be sitting there like this. They just zoned out because their conscious is taking over because they're still connected to it at a higher state. So they might zone out more, they might dream more. They're not as consciously here as an adult because they're still looking through life from the higher state. So when I say unconscious mind, you go unconscious to allow the higher part of you to start functioning, which we call the creator of your reality. So your unconscious mind is what creates your reality. It's unconsciously deciding what is real for you or not. So people are like, that's not real. You're right. Whatever you create to be real is your reality. And that's what your unconscious mind does for you.
So how do we get back to that childhood version of ourselves where we're
Mhm.
dreaming and allow the unconscious mind to be a greater or more expansive role
Mhm.
in our daily carnal lives?
Hmm. So that's great you asked. So first you have to decide what character, what avatar are you going to function as? Or you can create multiple ones. Just like a video game. Do y'all play video games?
Absolutely not. I'm a grown ass man.
Now, all right, I second that notion. I quit video games at about 10 years old.
Yeah.
Hey, did y'all used
Listen,
to play video games?
no disrespect to my gamers out there. We got
Nah,
mad
you
love for you.
good because I don't either anymore.
Hey,
But
I don't get it, bro. I
it was
can't
my
do it.
y'all threw my concept right in the trash. I'm just messing with you. But did you ever play video games?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So when I was younger, they used to let you create your own player. Now, when you create your own player, how did you create it? Did you create it your height? Did you make him 99 everything? See, we have to decide what character we're going to create. This character is supposed to represent you. So just like you had a character on a video game and you can create all their attributes and aptitudes and different personality types and things like that, you have to decide what are you going to create first, right? Once you understand this avatar that you created, you have to decide what reality is going to function in. What's going to be real for this character. That's what the unconscious mind does. It creates the reality for the character you chose to be. Now, this is where the concept of acceptance and affirmations come from. See, affirmations unlock your unconscious mind. And I'm not talking about the fake affirmations we've been taught just to say I am a bunch of times.
I
That's
was
not
gonna
a,
get into that too. That was gonna be one of the things I wanted to ask you about.
yes, that's not an affirmation. The reason why it's not is because I give you this. Now, the I am part is very powerful, but just because you say that does not mean it's an affirmation. A true affirmation is whatever you hold to be true, valid, and put your trust in. So, whatever you hold to be true, valid, and put your trust in, you accept and you affirm. Whatever you accept and affirm, that becomes your reality. That's the reality your unconscious mind is going to create. So you can say a bunch of things behind I am all you want. That's what's called using the name in vain. So
Or
I am is the most,
faking
go
faking it
ahead.
until you make it, right?
You're faking until you make it. That doesn't work. What you're doing is you're creating your own failure because you don't even believe it yourself. So, I am is the two most powerful words in any language because it allows you to accept or affirm anything in your life. But your unconscious mind deals with your inward self, not your outward self. So, you can say it outwardly as much as you want. That creates manifestation, but it's based off of what you're saying inwardly. How many people are saying stuff outwardly and inwardly they're saying that would never work?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
we've all
believe that's
done
going
it.
to happen.
Yeah.
That's what your
So
unconscious mind is listening to. They're not listening to your outward speech. It's your inward self.
so first of all, I knew we were going to like get really deep in the water, which is fine by me, but I want to say thank you for like really opening this up, right? Because I have an exercise every day in regards to attacking my work day with the proper mindset and the
Mm-hmm.
proper outlook on things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much that I am afraid of, but listening to you talk, even as I've got a mind like a steel trap when it comes to like being dead set on trying to get something accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
But listening to you has really shed some light on some things to where it's like, okay, I need to incorporate this part, take this part down. And I appreciate you just like from a personal standpoint of like really opening up this whole new world, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And based on what you told us, right? Like, faking it until you make it, you're really setting yourself up for failure. All that being said, so what is the I won't say the quickest or easiest, but literally the path of least resistance when it comes to you having as an individual or a listener having a thought to where that thought becomes a quote unquote a thing, or to where you accomplish said thought? Because everyone talks about affirmations and self-talk and things like that, but you just said it's your internal thought. So how do we, for lack of a better word, make it efficient to where we have that internal thought to where we actually accomplish or physically touch what it is that we thought or that we're trying to accomplish? How do
Like
we
how
how
you
do we
train your mind?
yeah, like how do we do it efficiently?
Well, that's what we're working on right now, the efficiency of it. So, what you're talking about comes from something being automatic or already programmed, which comes down to the next mind that people are not familiar with, which is the subconscious mind, right? So, the subconscious mind is what creates programming, right? It creates programming from what we call prophetic visions, right? Visions are a set destination that you're trying to get to, right? So, a prophetic vision, people are self prophesying all the time off of where they're going to end up, but they're doing it to their disadvantage instead of their advantage. So, as soon as you set a destination, your subconscious works like a GPS. Soon as you set a destination, it automatically starts going towards that actual destination, good or bad. Most people are self sabotaging themselves because they're giving themselves a destination that's not beneficial to them, or they not have factor out all the routes to get there. So when you set a destination like a GPS, doesn't it give you all the multiple routes?
Yeah.
A lot of people pick the route that has the most resistance. They go straight into traffic. And like some people, they get impatient. When you're in traffic long enough, you take what? Alternative routes, or you get off the road.
Course or detoured.
Off the course, exactly. And because of that, most people never make it to their destination. So they start believing and creating programs that they won't get there. So they start creating lower destinations. So your subconscious programming is what people call this. I'll give you an example of what subconscious programming is. Simple form. The lowest form of programming is hope. Hope is possible. Most people live in that realm of hope and they never leave that programming. It's possible. Not for me, but it's possible. When you get to something happening for you, the next type of programming is expectation. Are you expecting it to happen for you? The next type of program is belief. When, what time period will it happen? If you don't know the time is going to happen, you're not in belief. After you go to belief, you go to faith. Faith is not some leery thing that I believe something that's not. No, faith is very simple. Faith is a plan. That's the substance of what you're hoping for. And those laws, that's the evidence that you have
not seen.
when you cannot see. That's true faith. If you don't have the plans and the laws, you're not in faith. It doesn't matter how much you argue the situation, you're not in faith. You might be in belief, expectation, or hope, but you're not in faith. Once you accomplish it, you get to trust. So, trust has happened before. Then you get to confidence, and the quickest way to get manifestation is when you get your subconscious programming to reliance. I'm relying on this to happen no matter what. It is going to happen, and there's no way it can't happen. There's absolutely no way I can't get to this destination. Right? So I'll break it down real quick, and then we can go over the details of it. You start from the emulation mind. What character are you going to create? Then you put it into a reality, your unconscious mind. You create your reality. Then you create a destination. When you go to your subconscious mind, you go to destination. Then you have to create the steps to get to that destination. That's where the conscious mind comes in. You have to decide the steps. So the conscious mind creates probability, logic, imagination, concepts, what's right or wrong. Then this is where you go to the emotional mind, which is speaking, comes in now. Now I'm speaking, and what people don't understand is creation is responding to you. Words were never meant to communicate. Their words are meant to create. So whatever you're speaking, you're creating the manifestation of the world around you. Creation is responding to you. Then the last step, your carnal mind uses your feelings and senses to create the actions you're acting out, this character you created, in the environment that you set for it, because your word went before you. So the reason why the environment is responding to you, because it's responding to your words, and your word won't come back void unless you let a higher word override you, which most people do. Most people are letting the word of their parent, their grandma, their teacher, some person that said you're going to always fail. So their word is overriding your word. And that's the environment that you're functioning in. So you think the environment is against you, because it is. Because the word was sent before you to be against you instead of for you.
Let me dial back just a half second here, because I want to go into something. You talked about how words will be used against you if you're allowing other words from other people to influence you, right?
Yes.
But what if you're the one creating your own self-doubt, right? Now, I truly don't believe that it only comes directly from you, because it's based off our environment, our experiences, our exposures, what we've encountered, so on and so forth. I get that. But in a very watered down version, if I'm saying, oh, I can never do that, I can never lose weight, or I can never make, six figures, or I can never do this, that, and the third, how do we attack the self-doubt?
That's where you have to start with who you are. That's what it comes to. I have to say who I am, because if the person I am, I'm thinking they can't do it by who I see I am. The person I see I am is determining why I say I can't do this. If I see myself as a failure, then of course this won't work out for me because that's who I see myself as. And it's all based off of you. Anything that's spoken over us, what's so beautiful about the minds is you can accept it or reject it. See, this is what's so beautiful about your conscious mind everybody talks about. You don't have to fight ideas that come into your mind. Because at the end of the day, you have the power, the freedom of choice and decision to decide at the end of the day. I'll give you an example. Your conscious mind has different parts to it. It starts in idea, which is a goal, thought, which is a plan. Then it goes to logic, what people call consciousness. The probability, it creates the analytics of if this idea and plan, this thought will work. Then you go to the imagination. You start imagining concepts of corresponding ways it can happen. Then it goes to your conscience. Is this right or wrong? Is this blessing or curse? Is this light or dark? What is this? Then it goes to the free will that has your conscious ego inside. Ego is how you view yourself, your self-esteem, self-respect, self-worth. How you think of yourself will determine if you choose to do it or not. And your free will has a final decision. Let me play it out for you. We're about to start the new year. People are getting an idea. They're going to watch the TV, get an idea, a goal. I'm going to lose weight this year. Summertime fine. I'm about to get summertime fine. Got an idea, right? So the idea is the goal. The goal is by the summertime, I'm going to get fine. So they get a thought. They start creating a plan. The thought comes up, I need to get a gym membership. They get the gym membership. That's the thought. That's the plan. Now, logically, they start saying, okay, how would this work? Which days can I go? How much would it cost? They call up, get the cost, get the trainer, how much it would cost, what days they can go. I'm going to start going before work, 6 o'clock in the morning. Then they start imagining themselves being there, imagining themselves being summertime fine. They might get a picture of somebody, or when they were younger, yeah, I used to look like this, or I want to look like this person. So they start using their imagination to find a concept. Then they start going to their conscious. Is this right or wrong? This is right. I should be fine. Now, the new year comes and they say, on the first of the new year, I made the choice. I'm going to get summertime fine. How they view themselves. Their ego doesn't view themselves as how they want to look right now. But they made the choice. So they went through the whole process of their conscious mind. They made the choice. When the first day comes and 6 o'clock comes, they already made the choice. But when that morning comes, their free will have the final decision, and half the people will hit that alarm, say, maybe next year. They went through all that.
Yeah,
My
no,
free
that's
will
real.
decided not today.
Yeah,
This bed is feeling too good. Or some might get up and go.
I love it. I mean, listen, this is um, this is phenomenal. Fantastic way to start the year. Um, I, so every year, and Mo and I have done this, and I don't know if he's going to do it this year or not, but I try to read Think and Grow Rich to start the year off, right, along with the Bible, and then I've got a list right now. We got a couple. We had Matt Sepulveda on the show last year. I'm going to be reading his book, so I've got an index of books that I want to read this year. But I'm curious, when you have books that are like that are just the cornerstone of mindset for a lot of people, right? What are your thoughts on Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich?
Well, it's great for the carnal mind, right? It's great for the emotional and carnal mind. It talks about speaking. It talks about a lot of actions and things you can do. But it's based off of an intent to go into certain industries and certain fields for the information to actually work, which is why those fields use that book a lot, right? Because it was strategically done because Napoleon Hill was the testing product of Andrew Carnegie, right? To prove what he created worked. Now, what most people don't understand is Think and Grow Rich is the version that was out to the masses, so they would never get even the higher information of what actually was given to him. because when he actually created the original book, they had to take it off. And even the
So
original
I've
book,
never heard of the original. What's the original book?
it's like the laws of I forget the name of it. On the I used to know, I forget the name of it, but it was basing it off of strategically how it works. So they created more of a mass the version for the masses that can create better entrepreneurs or workers, is what the book is really designed for. So most people use the book for entrepreneurship as if an entrepreneur is creating their own business, and is not. An entrepreneur is someone that's creating their own occupation or job. So we needed more productive people in society. So the book was designed to do that, create more productive people.
Are
That's
you in agreement with the philosophical bedrocks of Think and Grow Rich?
um I haven't read it in totality. I've been able to get the main points of it because a lot of people bring it up with when I talk to them about how I help them. So I know the main points of it. Has been a while because the people kind of dismissed it now that I've gone forward. But the power of thought is great, but it doesn't start there. And that's the only part that I don't agree with, is it keeps you at the conscious level, which keeps you under set manifestation laws and not be able to override those laws. So you kind of have to function inside these laws, and there's ways to go around, go above the laws to function higher laws. So that's the part I don't fully agree with, because I give you an example, right? People know the law of sowing and reaping. When will it reap though? Has anyone ever told you when you sow, when you're going to reap?
No.
That's the issue, because we're stuck on the lower laws and no one tells you the higher laws based on your minds that you're functioning will determine when you reap, right? So I'll give you an example. Now we're told it's the first of the year. Technically is not, to the universe, right? So, but depending on your minds, determine on when you will reap what you sow. So your carnal mind, when you sow in your carnal mind, whatever you sow, whatever action you sow, is going to take 6 months to reap a harvest. So whatever you're doing today, you're not going to benefit today from actions. You're going to benefit 6 months from now.
Okay.
Emotionally, your emotional mind, it takes a season, 3 months. Your conscious mind, 1 month. Your subconscious mind, a week. Your unconscious mind, a day. Your emulation mind can function right now or within an hour worth of time. But if I don't understand that, I'm sowing, and if I don't know when it's reap, a lot of times I'll leave the harvest. So a lot of people are reading these books and they're sowing because it's just lower laws, and that's why the probability of success is not very high. And if you don't get it, they tell you you're not built for this. That's why I'm against it, because it's not built for everybody. It's built for the strongest of
Wow.
the survival of the fittest. That's what it's
Yeah.
really made for.
So listen, Dr. Rhodman, this is phenomenal. I'm gonna speak on behalf of my partner and say we've got to get him back into the lab,
Oh,
and
absolutely,
maybe
absolutely.
mid-year or something like that, to get a wellness check on all of our visionaries, etc. But we do this thing called landing the plane. But before we do that, I have one final question I want to ask you before we kind of get into that part of the episode,
Okay.
um, and it's just holistic, right?
Okay.
We're talking about mindset, conscious, unconscious, subconscious, emulation, all these great things, right? The universe, right? Which is what it really profounds up to be, right?
Yes.
Um, how do you balance, or maybe balance isn't the right word, but I'm sure there's people that are listening and say, well, where's your faith?
Yes.
Where's your spirituality, right?
Mhm.
So what is the fine line
Mhm.
that you walk, or how does it blend to where it's a seamless transition because they do speak the same language?
Yeah, so that's great that you asked. So spirituality is another thing that people don't really understand, right? So we have to go to higher, which is theology, right? So we go higher to theology, which is the study and nature of God. Which God, right? So I ask you the question all the time. They were like, I believe in God. God is a title and a position of I can create myself to be what I want to be, or I can create something else to be something. So I ask you all the time, which God are you talking about? So when I deal with bringing it together, I believe and I know and I can stand on there is a God that's higher than other gods that started this whole thing called the Most High God. Now, people are get confused because they believe that the universe is God. Incorrect. There is a God that created this universal system that we can stand on, right? The universe is a system that's automatically set with the truth. The reason why it even works because it's constant. It's a system we all can use. But there's a God that can override this system, and that's where the divine minds come in. Where there's a God that can override the universal system, which is why, even though the universe has set things, there's things that can happen that we call supernatural. There's things that can happen that we call miracles that's beyond universal systematic structure. So the way you blend it is if I know the truth. I know the character, the nature of this Most High God, and I know how to connect to the Most High and what was the purpose of the universe, then it will work every single time. That's how you put it together because the Most High's purpose will always stand. The truth will always stand. So if the Most High's purpose will always succeed, if I align my stuff with that purpose, inside the universe, it will always work. That's the harmonious balance that you can put, and it'll work every time. That's when I knew it will work for me every single time because we all know the house always wins.
I love it. As he sits in Vegas right now. Absolutely love it. Love it. Mo,
Dr. Rhodman, we've got to say thank you. And
yes.
before before we land the plane, could you give out to our visionaries and people watching on YouTube all of your social media handles, your website? Like how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can get a hold of me first at DrAnthonyRhodman.com. Dr. Anthony Rhodman. Rhodman is Rhodman. And I'm on all the social media platforms. Some of them are Dr. Ant Ro, which is Dr. ANTRHO on Instagram. So you can go on Facebook, Instagram. My guy T Jax has done a wonderful job of getting me on he's setting them all up for me through fan base, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of them. Is Dr. Ant Ro. At Dr. Ant Ro.
Yeah, a huge shout out to Trayvon Jackson. Like, thank you so much, Trayvon. And I've had a couple conversations with him since we had this scheduled, and he's an awesome dude.
Yeah,
And we definitely look forward to doing more with you guys in the future.
man,
Um,
appreciate that.
oh, no problem. That said, it is time to land the plane. This segment is brought to you by the good folks at Sagamore Spirits. Visionaries, you know we don't have anything on the show that we don't stand by from a product standpoint. And so before we land the plane, we'll cut this quick commercial for Sagamore Spirit.
There are a few hard truths to whiskey that most brands don't like to admit. First, there's a lot of it. And second, despite its lore and romance, whiskey is often complex and intimidating. Is that high or low proof? Toasted or charred? Aged or finished? Straight or blended? imported or American. Endless options, endless questions, endless confusion. But there is a whiskey out there that makes selecting it simple. An exceptional spirit made with local ingredients and committed to its communities. That's us. That's Sagamore Spirit. Sagamore Spirit has been and always will be more than just whiskey. Our work, your work, is greater than the sum of its parts. Keep the momentum moving. And one more thing, it's whiskey. Have fun with it.
We asked this question to everybody on the show.
Yeah.
There's you, and there's a round table. There are 5 other seats at the table. You get to have any 5 people you want at your table, except for God or whatever religious entity that you believe in. Outside of that, dead or alive, who do you want at your table?
That was my answer too.
Yeah, we took it away because it's too easy.
It is that I got it. That's a tough one. Um, ooh, that's a tough one. There's not too many people I want to talk to.
You just need 5.
Just need 5. All right. All right, let's take it to the people that a lot of people use their name. I would like to know their original intent of the name that people use. So let's go over the people most people use. I like to talk to Jesus. A lot of people use his name. What were you doing? And you see all these people using your name? What did you really mean? Buddha. A lot of people use Buddha's name. Muhammad. A lot of people use Muhammad's name. I like to talk to these guys and see what was their original intent. So I got what, 2 more?
Yep.
Ooh, this is good. This is a great question. Um, okay, I'm gonna get kind of deep and personal. I like to bring my dad to the table. My dad passed away a few years ago. Let's sit at the table, Dad. Let's talk. What was really going on that you protected me from? Um, and then, that 5th one's tough. Give me some clues if y'all can help me out. Give me some clues. Give me some clues of some people.
I think it would be real interesting to have you and Dr. Miles Monroe.
Miles, thank you, thank you, thank you. Miles Monroe, definitely would like to have him. See, that was divine right there.
Yeah.
Miles Monroe will be at the table. So I will have my dad, Miles, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. I would
It's a
like to
very,
know.
very interesting table.
Yes, very interesting table.
And it's a great table too. So before we land the plane, again, want to say a big thank you to you for jumping into the lab with us, Dr. Monroe. Um, in case you didn't, well, let me ask this: what is the long term vision for Dr. Anthony Rhodman?
The long-term vision is to be able to help people be able to answer the most important questions of life and to be able to reshape psychology so people can use it to their advantage and stop using psychology to be used against people. So I want people to know what they're really working with because they're having psychology be used against them because they don't know. So I want people to know so they can stop be taken advantage of psychologically and know how to use it to their advantage where we can truly start learning how to work together.
Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to help anybody.
Yes. There you go. There you go. My job is to show people so they
There
can
you
help
go.
themselves. Let's go. See, he was paying attention.
Yeah, always, man, always. My mom's a psychologist as well too. So
There you
uh,
go.
yeah, no, but that was good. That was good. Um, so in case you didn't know, we do have a magical time machine
Mhm.
here in the Vision Lab. Okay, what advice would Dr. Anthony Rhodman be giving himself from 5 years ago?
Mm. Get myself 5 years ago.
Yeah, so your conscious state now, looking
Hmm.
back 5 years ago and talking to that version of yourself, what advice would you be giving yourself?
I would tell the person 5 years ago, enjoy the journey more, because all things you're worrying about is not going to happen. Focus on the moment, enjoy the journey, and learn in the journey, because the things you're frustrated about or thinking is going to happen is not going to happen. Focus on what you really know is going to happen, and it's going to work out exactly as you wanted it to.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to ask you to tap into your subconscious and your unconscious right now,
Yes.
even though you're awake. Um, and we're going to fast forward the clock 5 years from now.
Hmm.
Okay. So you're 5 years older. So that version of yourself, they're looking back and they're talking to you today. What
Hmm.
advice are they giving you today?
So 5 years from now, the advice to give me today is stay locked in, right? Develop the things you need to develop so you can be able to have yourself succeeded. So 5 years from now, I should have successors. So prepare today for what you're going to have tomorrow, is what my self 5 years now is telling it.
That's
Prepare
good.
today what you're going to have tomorrow.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Again, big thank you for jumping into the lab. Shout out to Sagamore Spirit. Thank you for continuing to support us. Be on the lookout for some more things coming in 2023. It's an exciting time, man. I'm super stoked, super amped up. Season 11 is I don't know how many home runs the doctor hit out of the park today, man. It was absolutely amazing. We'd love to have you back on the show, maybe sometime middle of the year as a follow up. But
Go for it.
I know for me, and I think I speak on behalf of my partner, I think we were certainly poured into, and our cups are filled right
Yeah.
now. So, visionaries, hopefully you guys got a lot out of this content. If you enjoyed it and you're still here, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and share it with a friend. A lot of great nuggets of wisdom. And remember, each one of our guests are dropping these nuggets of wisdom on the trail of life. At the end of the day, my friends, it's up to you to pick them up.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. Thank you again to Dr. Anthony Rhodman. Doctor, we appreciate you. Again, thank you to your publicist, Mr. Trayvon Jackson. And Happy New Year to everybody. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks on another great episode of the Vision Lab podcast.
Blessings.